don't forget. We'll just give you some general information. We also have a few people who have not signed up for committee that they wanted to know more about committees before they do commit. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I sent the agenda, so hopefully everybody has that. We'll just go through, everyone can introduce themselves quickly. We'll have some opening remarks from Dave Hanson, our Executive Director, and Adele Puccio, Puccio's President. Then we'll give you a quick overview of the committee, some tidbits about committees. We have some questions that were submitted. We have some guests here who will answer those questions. And then we will have Joseph Palmer give us a preview on Buckles Connect, which is a great tool for the committees to use. If you have any questions, you can either type them in the chat box, or at the end we can unmute you. So why don't we get started? And we'll just ask everyone here to introduce themselves, just your name and your library and your either department or title, and then we'll get going. So how about I'll just kind of call the names out based on who I see. And Jen, can you start for us?
Sure. I'm Jennifer Kelly Maloney. I run the Youth Services Department at Waldwick for children's and young adults.
Thank you. And I'm just going to go with the participants. The our panelists will do your introductions when we call on you. Leo.
Hi, good morning. I'm Leo Bellino, and I'm the director at the North Arlington Public Library.
Thank you. Let's see. And Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie, Hasbrook Heights. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator.
Great. Shannon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon. I am a library assistant at Paramus and New Milford currently.
Excellent. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christina Wanya. I work at the Maplewood Memorial Library as a paraprofessional in the Adult Services Department.
Excellent. I have Laura Henderson.
Hi, I'm Laura Henderson, Franklin Lakes Public Library Technology Manager.
Thank you. And we have Laura McGivern. Okay. Sandra.
Hi, I'm Sandra Michelson, and I'm the Adult Program Coordinator at Roseland Library.
Great. Maria. Okay, we'll come back to Maria. Hi, Mariah.
Maria doesn't have a camera or microphone. There was a message that came up earlier.
Okay. Thank you for monitoring that, Andrew. Mariah, long time no see.
Hi guys, I'm Mariah. I'm the head of circulation and adult services over at Wallington Public Library.
Excellent. And I'm sorry, so we have two call-in users. If you're able to unmute and introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Morning, I'm Denise. I am from the Hawthorne Library. I have been a library assistant there for about 2 years.
Excellent. And I have one more call-in person, if you'd like to introduce yourself. All righty. Did I miss anyone?
I don't know if that's me, but I haven't. I'm Jennifer Jacopo from Maplewood Library, children's librarian.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And did I miss anyone else? Okay. So now I'd like to.
Hold on, Darlene, you missed me.
Oh, okay. So
Hi.
Susan, you're on the panelist call group. So right before we do the Q&A, I was going to ask the five of you to introduce yourselves. Okay, thank you. And I'd like to turn over now to Dave Hanson, our Executive Director, and Adele Puccio, Buckles President, for some remarks.
Welcome, everybody. We're very excited to have you here. Buckles is a missional organization. That means that we are governed by our mission and vision. And the thing that I want you to all remember is we have three major components to our mission statement. We believe in cost-effective resource sharing, shared professional development, and fostering the initiatives of the forward-thinking public libraries. Now, the thing that you are participating today is something that's very, very important to us. It's called the shared professional development. And when we talk to people from trustees to directors to even the frontline staff, this is one of the things that is really super important. And the number one way that we make good on our promise to make sure there are professional development opportunities amongst the Buckles Consortium is through the work of the committees. The committees are super important. In fact, when you look at the way that we're structured, honestly, almost all work begins in the committee. When we look at everything that's done, in almost all cases, it starts at the committee. And it's trying to solve a problem or trying to solve something that we need to get done here in the consortium. So I'm very excited that you've taken the time to learn more about the committee structure. Please know that it's not just important, it's actually critical to the mission of the organization. And we're very excited to see you here and hopefully answer any of the questions that you might have. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave. Adele?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out and for showing interest in committees. And Dave is right. This is very important. It is critical to our mission. But joining a committee can do many good things for you as well. I've on various committees over the years for a very long time, and I have made lifelong friends, colleagues who have helped with jobs. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to get to know other people in the consortium and to network and to find positions if you're looking. You can get tons of advice from people who've been around for a while who can help you in your career and with anything. It's really been very beneficial for me. I've served on many different committees over the years. I think my personal favorite at this point is probably the scholarship committee because I love seeing so many new librarians up and coming. So enjoy, and I hope after today everybody's raring to go. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Adele. Okay, so we'll just move into a quick overview of some of the committee details. Let me see if I can share my screen now.
Darlene, if you want me to share that document, I can do that.
Yes, please. Sure. Thank you. I've got it up. My computer's just not cooperating.
You should all be seeing the document now. Is that correct?
Okay, I see it. Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome.
So to borrow a phrase from my nephew, he always likes to call them fun facts. So just some information about the committees. As you can see, the committee, it runs on a calendar year. We have 16 committees. Most have been in existence for a while. Circ and Public Relations, our newest committees, they're in their second year. Each committee will have a chair or co-chairs plus the committee members. And some of the committees are limited, their rosters are limited to either directors. Some, in most cases, staff can join the other committees, and we do have some friends and trustees on other committees. Generally, we were able to assign everybody to their first or second committee choice whenever possible. But again, some committees are limited to their roster. Joseph, can we scroll up? Next slide, please. And then, we have some committees that primarily focus on hosting programs and events, and you can see the list there. We have other committees that work on initiatives and projects. Sometimes they're one-time, sometimes they're ongoing. You see the list there. We also have committees and task forces. Committees are ongoing and they have regular tasks that carry over from year to year. Task force are typically convened to handle special one-time projects, and you can see some of the prior task forces that we've had in the past. And then if we could just go to the last screen. And as you can see, the committee charges are decided by the president and the executive director, and input from the strategic plan. Most committees do meet on a regular basis, typically monthly. Some committees do have special schedules, which will be communicated. Because of the pandemic, we're offering the option to have in-person and or virtual meetings. If the meetings are in person, there is also an option for virtual participation. And again, some of the committee events are in person, some are hybrid, and some are strictly virtual. We do encourage planning ahead to make it easy for the committee members to plan their days and support their committees. If you do come up with any scheduling conflicts, whether or not it's the date of the meeting or events, please reach out to your chairs. It's important that we have a quorum to make decisions and approve minutes. So if you have a scheduling change and you can't make the meetings any longer, please reach out to your chairs. And most importantly, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we did receive some questions from our participants. So we've assembled a panel of distinguished guests here. So I would like them to introduce themselves, and then we'll just go through some of the questions that were asked. So first is Nancy Klaus.
Hi, I'm the director at Allendale, Lee Memorial Library, and I'm on the Policy and Procedures Committee.
Thank you. Steph Diorio.
Hi, sorry, I had to unmute. I'm Steph Diorio. I'm at Hoboken Public Library. I'm the archivist here in Special Collections. I'm actually on the I'm a self-advocate regarding autism stuff, so I'm on the Diverse and Underserved Populations Committee.
Thank you. Cara Scott.
Hi, I'm Cara. I work at the Teaneck Public Library, and I'm a reference/technology librarian, and I'm a co-chair on the Adult Services Committee.
Thank you. And Andrew Simeone.
Morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Simeone. I am the Adult Services Supervisor at Cliffside Park Free Public Library, and I am the other co-chair of the Adult Services Committee.
Great, thank you. And Susan Valenta.
Hi, I'm Susan Valenta. I'm the circulation supervisor for the Wyckoff Public Library.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So these are folks who have served on committees, and as they said, Andrew and Cara are the co-chairs. So we do have some questions that came in, and we'll just go through those. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to either type them in the chat box or we can unmute you. So we'll start off with what is the role of the Buckles Committee members? Dave, can you take that one?
Sure. Let's think about the structure of the organization. The structure of the organization is built a lot like a legislative body, but the way to think about it is we are a membership organization, and thus we have the System Council, which you probably all know about, and you probably all get the digest we send about the System Council, and that's really the last step of the process, right? That's when we say yes and we vote, and it has to be usually a 2/3 vote, that's when something actually becomes the law of the land. Now, it doesn't get there until it comes from executive board. An executive board is made up of 9 elected folks and 2 trustee people who come on to the elected board, and they serve the elected folks for 3 years. There's a president, that's Adele. And that board is really our oversight piece. That's the thing that really works with us on a monthly basis, day-to-day basis, to make sure all the work of the institution is getting done. It functions a lot like what you may be knowing as your library board. Well, So you're going to ask, well, where do we go for all of the work that happens at the executive board? Because that's what gets to system council and that's what gets approved. Well, there are two forms of that work. There's administrative work. These are things that your friendly Buckles office staffers do. And you might remember them, we negotiate things like computer costs for the folks who take computers through us, those kinds of things. But the vast majority of things that the executive board is going to consider and take to system council for putting on are things that come out of committee. We have a P&P person here. In almost every executive board, there's going to be a recommendation for a P&P committee where they're clarifying, they're changing, they're adding. Policies and procedures are things that we do to help us work together as a group, right? And all of those recommendations come out of the committee. And that committee will come to the executive board. They'll present, they'll say, we think this is what we should do. And it's a recommendation from the committee. The executive board then takes that to system council for ratification. Now, as you can see, and I'm not going to sing I'm Just a Bill because it's a really good way of understanding it, but we all know that from that lovely set of cartoons that some of us saw in the first run, some of us may have seen in reruns. But if you remember that, right, it really all starts with that person trying to type up what they wanted to get done. And that's really what happens at the committee level. That's what you're charged with, is being part of the group that is making decisions, part of the group that is making recommendations to the executive board to make us better. And that's really essentially what you're going to do. Now, you're put there by the president, you get appointed by the president, and your charges come from the president. But what we've seen a lot of times that'll happen is, depending on the year, the executive board may actually come back and say, hey, look, we've seen this issue and we would like you guys to work on it. Happens a lot in policy and procedure. We'll have something that, we didn't know was coming up, and they'll say, yes, we're going to refer that to committee. And when we do that, we're going to talk to your committee chairs and they're going to bring something up to you and they'll say they have to do it. A great example would be, this past year, the strategic plan called for a beta testing program. Now, that beta testing program had to be created and we referred it to the technology committee. And the technology committee took it up, did the work to make sure it worked, and then brought it back to executive board. Executive board looked at it, they liked it, they passed it on to system council, they voted on it. So I hope you understand that you really are where the rubber meets the road on these things. And so that's the role of that committee member, is to be a part of that group that's making specific recommendations that ultimately will be taken to the broader membership for approval.
Thank you,
Hope all
Dave.
that makes sense.
Thanks, Dave. And Adele, the next question kind of piggybacks on what Dave was saying. What are some examples of work that the committees have accomplished?
Our committees have done a great deal of work over the years. Obviously, Dave brought up policies and procedures and bylaws and how those are constantly changing and evolving, and there are things to vote on all the time with that. But committees have brought about the supervisory training course that's run by the LAMP committee. We have the scholarship committee, which creates an application every year, vets the scholarship applicants, and awards the scholarships. We have the Friends Committee, which puts on some wonderful events, including the Scholarship Brunch. The Friends Brunch is a wonderful annual event, and they put a lot of hard work into that. We have the Trustee Committee, which does trustee training. Many of our committees do professional development work so that they put on programs that count towards your professional development hours. And we have our fun committee, the Member Services Committee, that gives us mixers and ways to relax and get along without having to do any heavy lifting, shall we say. So it's a great way to get involved and accomplish something that will continue moving the organization forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Adele. Nancy, can you mention about how to acquire knowledge of Buckles policies?
Yes, the Buckles policies, I mean, the first way, if you're not, the best way is to be on the committee, frankly, because you get totally immersed in what's going on. if you're not on the committee, then the best way is to, look at the policy and procedures manual and look through that if you have a specific question. And then you can also add questions and present them to the committee, and then we can address if you have a specific question about something. You can notify the committee, and then when we meet, we talk through it and we come up with either an answer, or sometimes it prompts the need to change a policy or to make some changes or additions to a policy. Otherwise, in terms of just understanding the day-to-day kind of policies and procedures, speak with people either within the Buckles organization or within your own library. The whole policy and procedures committee and the work done is very detailed and can be somewhat complex at times, but it's extremely important. And a lot of the time that we spend is putting the right language in and making it very clear so that people can, when they read the policy and procedures manual, that they have like either step-by-step or that they understand kind of the implications. Because when I first joined the committee, I've been on for a year, I just signed up for the second year. And the reason I signed up was because I felt like that would be a great way to immerse myself and to learn as much as possible, as well as the other benefits of networking and et cetera. But you really do go very deep, and it's great to hear what other people on the committee, what their experiences have been, because you may, in your library, you may never have had this issue with a particular patron issue or technical issue. And then when you get a group of 20 people together, you basically get a cross-section of some of the other issues that are out there that you may not have been aware of. So basically it's just understanding and looking at the manual, but then working with in your own library and within the Buckles organization to just learn as much as you can and ask questions.
Thank you, Nancy. So, Joseph, we had a question about accessing Buckles files and how to do that. I think that'll be covered in your Buckles Connect demo. Is there anything that you'd like to say now?
Log into Buckles Connect and start searching around. I'll show you a bunch of files that are available specifically for committees, and also things that are created by committees.
Perfect, thank you. So Dave, we had a question about Robert's rules. I know you could probably cover it in like 3 minutes, completely comprehensive. Can you give us a couple of words of wisdom regarding that and how it affects our committees?
So, so what you have to understand about why Robert's rules is used in our bylaws, we basically have meeting rules, and we say if we don't list out meetings, please see the latest version of Robert's rules. Now, Robert's rules, you know them as things that if you go to a formal meeting, you've gone to a committee meeting, probably your own meetings that you have there at the library, there are specific rules that come down about how we run a meeting, right? I will tell you that at the committee level, there's a separate set of rules, and you don't need to worry about like knowing all the ins and outs of them, but there are small board and committee rules. So there is a subset of actually the Robert's rules. Now, I think it's fair to say that our committees may not be the most stringent adherents to Robert's rules. I think this is an honest thing to say. Here's the things that I think that are most important about Robert's rules to remember when you're doing committee work. The things that Robert rules really want to make sure is that we have an organized way of doing things. So the fact that you have an agenda, that's really part of Robert's rules. The number two thing that I think is really important about Robert's rules is there needs to be a mechanism for the committee to make decisions. And this is where you get into okay, so we got the minutes. We need a motion. We need to accept the minutes, right? Motion and second, vote on the minutes. Those are really important because we need those committee decisions to be formalized. Remember, I explained the whole process about how you're going to have an idea and you're going to get something out of committee, and that committee is going to take it to the executive board, and executive board is going to take it to system council. So the thing to remember in all your committee meetings is, regardless of how, say, informal the committee becomes, major actions, when you decide to make a recommendation, particularly something that needs to go to executive board, it is important for your committee to formalize that action. Even if you've been very informal throughout the whole thing and we haven't done all of the Robert's Rules things, it's really important. And I will tell you, having worked with a bunch of different committees, this is, we get to that moment and I say, okay, this is a time where we need to have a motion, we need to have a second, and we need to have a vote, and we need to record that, right? Because if you were to just say, are we all in agreement? And, we just pass something up to executive board, you have a sort of crisis that could occur if people in the committee said, we never voted on that. We never really decided on that. We don't have a formal thing. And so what I would tell you, the most important thing about Robert's Rules is when you get ready to make that decision, when you get ready to bring something to executive board, it's really important that you participate in that and that you do that formalized process so that we have a record that you guys all agreed, or if you didn't agree, there was a majority of you that agreed, because we sometimes don't always do things that everybody agrees upon, to make sure that we're passing something in those ways. And that's what Robert's Rules is really designed. So the big things to take away and you think about the Robert's Rules is, don't worry about it if you're not a parliamentarian, and that should not be a barrier to enter. Just know that if you join a committee, the things that you should really be prepared to do is you should be prepared to read the agenda, because that's a really important part that your chairs are going to be putting together, and that guides your meeting. You should be prepared to vote on the major issues. These will include the minutes and any major motions that you're going to recommend to the folks. And you should be prepared to discuss, right? You should be prepared to discuss. When you're in a committee, now I will just tell you, all committees are open to the public. So if you want to go sit in on a committee, you can. One of the little things about Robert's Rules that you should understand is the people who get to speak in a meeting have to have standing. Right? Now, that means you're really supposed to be part of the committee if you want to be part of the debate. Now, can your chair recognize anyone? They can. That's part of Robert's Rules. But part of the reason why you're on a committee, and part of the reason the membership counts in these committees, is we want the people who are in there to really be discussing it. So that's a lot about Robert's Rules. I try to give you a nice thing. Again, the summation: be prepared to read the agenda, be prepared to vote. And those are the two major concepts that you need to remember about Robert's Rules. All right? Any questions that you might have? So don't be scared. Some people are like, well, wait a minute, what if somebody most of the time, I've not been in a committee where we've done any crazy Robert Rules thing. So you're going to be fine.
Thank you, Dave. Susan, could you talk from your experience, what are the expectations for committee work and the expected amount of time to invest on committee work?
That's a good question, because I put off joining committee for a long time because I was worried that it would add to my workload and it would make life a little more stressful. But I found that you have a set date. The agenda comes early. You look it all over. Sometimes I help take the minutes, so we all share that in our group. We come up with ideas, and it's nice to have a group of people, so more people make light work. So I haven't found anything that I've done has been too much time for me to handle. So does that answer that well enough for you, Darlene?
Whatever you'd like to say. That I guess the hope is, like with the advanced planning, giving people an opportunity to manage their schedule, and if they know that there's something due in, like, say 4 months, and they have time next week, if they know about it, then they could kind of get a head start, and hopefully the committee work is not too overwhelming.
I have to say no. And it's been interesting because this was only our first year as being a committee. And it's been interesting to work with a group of people who have the same interests I have, which my passion is making our job easier. So it's been fun to work with people who feel, I guess, somewhat that way, to making CERC better. So it's been enjoyable, as well as something to learn and to meet people that I see names on emails when we have problems, but it's so nice to have a face to put with that name. And it's nice to work with people. sometimes you feel like you're all alone and you're like, oh, why is this happening? But you realize that you're not, that there are other people out there having the same issues. And together we tackle them. And it's nice to have input as part of a committee. And I see that we've changed things for the better. And that is really a nice part of being part of this committee.
Awesome. I think you summed it up when you talk about like-minded people, and some of the committees are just like super passionate. They policies and procedures. I pass by a meeting, they're laughing, they're having a good time talking about commas and ands, and they're just so so dedicated, just like the other committees.
Darlene,
Yes.
there is a question in the chat.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for keeping an eye on that. So Susan, what's your committee?
I'm on the circulation committee.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Christine, I do see your question. It's not too late to join a committee. We when I sent out the updated roster list, I did get a few more people. So if anybody is interested, please encourage them to fill out the Google form, and we can match them up with the committee. We also do typically send out a call for volunteers mid-year, depending on how the committee work is going. So there are definitely opportunities, even if it's not this week or it's not mid-year. If anybody ever wants to join a committee, please reach out, and then we'll make the effort to contact the chair, because we're always happy to have enthusiastic committee members. Okay. So I think we got the questions. Thank you for your insight, Susan. Cara, can you talk about the value of that someone who's new to committee work can bring to the committee, being totally new?
Yes, sure. I'm sorry, for some reason it's not letting me start my camera, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this was not only last year was not only my first year on like being active on a committee, but it was my first year co-chairing, and it was also my first year as an adult services librarian. So I went from youth services to adult services, and then started on the adult services committee. So I think the benefit for me was just coming in, I guess, sort of with like fresh eyes, just being eager. I just was very eager to learn, like, what were the procedures? What does this committee do? And I feel like I just was able to soak it all in because it was also new to me. And I know on the committee, we had a lot of new members who had never been on committees, and their contributions were really amazing. They were also very eager to share what their libraries were doing, to share their ideas. So I think just the excitement that comes with being new to something, and the eagerness to do well when you're new.
Excellent. Yeah, it's always that fresh perspective. Is a nice mix between the experienced, knowledgeable people and the new eager committee members. So continuing on that thought, Andrew, can you share your insights as a committee chair, what a new committee member can do to get off to a good start?
Absolutely. So from my experience, I have whittled it down to 3 things. And I'm going to start with number 1, be open to change. Not everything is going to go according to plan in the committee. There's always going to be old business becoming new business becoming old business. This event that we've been planning for 3 months has all of a sudden shifted to next year, or has become something entirely different because we've brought on another committee to help us with it. So adaptability is always going to be key, because we are not static. Libraries itself are changing, and we as librarians are going to help with that change. So be as flexible as you can be. Number 2, throw yourself into the committee. Try to be as proactive as possible. I know some prefer to hang back a little bit and observe, and that's absolutely fine. But when you get the opportunity after you feel comfortable, try to be active in your committee. Try to get the firsthand active practical experience that you can get from it. And building off of that, never be afraid to ask for help, because there's always going to be someone on the committee who has either been on other committees or has been on that committee for longer than anyone would have expected. So there is no harm in asking other people for advice, especially if you feel uncomfortable or if you just feel completely lost and don't think you have a grasp on anything. And this doesn't have to be just on your committee, but you can also ask other people as well, because chances are there's somebody in your library who is on a different committee who can give you advice.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
And transitioning that into Steph. So in your experience, do you see, do the committee members collaborate and are new ideas wanted? Or do they want to just go with the existing, we've always done it that way?
Well, I'm in the Diverse and Underserved Populations Committee, and the language we use is constantly changing. The ideas are constantly changing. It's something that we have to keep up with. So we're a very active committee, constantly bouncing around new things, trying new things, learning new ways to accommodate. So that's, in my experience, we're very much about trying new things. Some other committees might be different. I've only been on this one, so I don't know, and I can't speak for them. But for Diverse and Underserved, we're very much always trying to find new ways to help validate and accommodate all our patrons, not just a few. So we're always trying new things and trying our best to be at the cutting edge. So they're definitely always open to new ideas and new voices, though. That's very important. I came in as an autistic self-advocate, so to have an actual, disabled person sharing their experience was very valuable. I've listened to other people's very valuable personal experiences. So it's very, at least in the case of the committee I'm on, they very deeply value, I just realized you can't see me, there we go. They deeply value bringing in new ideas and hearing new voices and sharing each other's stories. I would hope most committees are the same. I can't speak for them because I'm only on this one, but I think that is definitely, in my case, true.
Great, thanks, Steph. Dave, do the committees ever work together, or is all their work done independently?
No, we have, short answer is it depends on what they're trying to get accomplished. We have a number of times when committees do come together. The big fundraiser for scholarship every year is done with the friends and the trustees, right? They come around and they work on that project together. We have some groups that oftentimes will become necessary to your work depending on what you're trying to do. We have a PR committee, for instance. And so if your program starts into the point where we're going to be maybe talking to the public or talking to the institution as a whole in a very formalized way, you're probably going to be working with them to accomplish that. Oftentimes our member services group, depending on what they want to take on, will be reaching out to different committees to do things. We think it's a really good thing to have multiple committees working on an effort. We think it makes a lot of sense, and hopefully we'll see it happen. That being said, not every project is going to be something that we do multiple committees on. P&P, for instance, they don't tend to be a group that does a lot of co-things. Is it possible? Sure is, but they may not do a lot of co-things. Member services, much more likely, because they're having a lot of parties. So as you think about the things that you might want to be working on in the committees, As you're thinking about it, and as you are the new eyes perhaps on a committee, one of the questions you ask is, should we have other people involved in this conversation, or are there parts of this project that are going to hit other folks in a way that we should be talking to them about? So it's something that absolutely happens. We think it's a positive thing. And it's something as a committee member, it's always should be in the back of your head. Is there another group I can get involved? Because generally speaking, the bigger the project, the more groups involved, the easier it is. Many hands make light work, as they say.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Adele, on that line, can committee members work on a different committee each year to kind of get a flavor for them, or do they automatically stay on the same committee each year?
Now, committee members can join different committees every year. They can stay on a committee, but they would have to rejoin every year when the call goes out, unless they are on a very specific committee that is limited to only the members that are on it. An example of that would be the strategic plan. It was like that with the branding task force as well, where people were assigned to it and they were to stay with it, and new members were not accepted. But new members are welcome in just about every committee, and you can definitely sample committees if you want, or you can stay with the ones that you think you have the most affinity with.
Great, great. Cara or Andrew, could you answer a question about attendance requirements or expectations at the committee meetings? Is it very strict? You have to attend all the meetings? Is there flexibility if somebody needs to miss a meeting?
So I would say that it depends on what committee you're on, such as brought up before by before the meeting. There are some committees where attendance is somewhat required, like the rules committee, where you got, because what they're doing is so important to the structure of Buckles, there should be an attendance for every meeting. But in the case of in my experience, because I've only been on the Adult Services Committee, in the Adult Services Committee, it's highly encouraged, because the way we run it is, even though we send minutes out to kind of keep people up to date, there's only so much nuance minutes can bring. It's still the meeting that you get the flavor for everything and such. Because from meeting to meeting, we move on. So that's basically what I'd say, because more committees need more stringent attendance than others. We don't force people to come to ours, but those that do, we try to keep as up to date as possible. Anything to add, Cara?
No, I think you summed it up very nicely. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Dave, there's a question about, is there a budget for committees, and what can that money be used for?
So this is a more complicated answer. Yes, there's money for committee work, but it's not assigned per committee. In kind of a weird way, it comes kind of first come, first serve. There are some ongoing projects that we have. LAMP has just a plug for supervisory training. I think it's actually open right now. So if you're looking to do supervisory training, that's something that LAMP does. And we do set aside money in that budget line every year to do it. Essentially, what you're going to do when you're asking for money is you're looking for something that's germane to the project that you're at hand. The kinds of things that we've been asked for money from. Do you want to bring in a speaker? That's something we get asked a lot. If there's somebody who you have to bring in from outside who may have a speaker fee, there's a form that is created. You fill that out and it goes. Just know that anytime you do one of those things, any kind of a program like that, it does have to be approved. It usually goes to Adele first for approval. And then the office, i.e. me, I get to approve whether or not you get to spend money. We have had years where we have spent all our money, about 3/4 of the way through. And so I always tell people, if your committee is looking to spend some money on something, earlier is better, right? If it's going to be a big spend, we're probably going to have a little bit of questions for you, but we really want it germane to the thing. Now, germane means it's necessary. We will have on occasion somebody who's doing something like the youth services does their boot camp, and they ask for like $50 worth of refreshments and something like that. But we'll usually say yes. We usually have enough money for that. We have a budget line for that. So those are the kinds of things that committees spend money on. My advice to you guys is, if you're in a committee meeting and you're considering spending money, the earlier you can get that to us, the better, because everybody's using the same pot of money. We don't do budgets for committees as yet, so that's going to be your limitation. So I think this last year we had some very active committees, and I think we got to like October or November, and we really didn't have a lot of money left over. And so people who had an idea for a nice program at the fourth quarter of the year, we had to say, look, we just don't have funding for this anymore. So always remember, you can ask for the money. We appreciate if you ask earlier so you have a better chance of getting it. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Dave. And the last question, if anyone else has anything that they would like to add, what is the benefit of being on a committee? In other words, what's in it for me? So if Nancy, Steph, Cara, Andrew, Susan, or Adele have anything else that they'd like to chime in, please do so. And then we're going to move to Buckles Connect with Joseph.
Darlene, I guess for me too, I mean, there's some of the ones that have already been mentioned before, but I think another piece is just representing, your library, so that as decisions are made, that you have a voice and that you can provide input. I mean, there's all different sizes, large libraries, small libraries, different locations, there are different needs. So it's nice to have your voice heard where you can represent the needs of your library, to the larger organization.
Great, thank you. Steph, Cara, Andrew, Susan, Adele?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed having an opportunity to share my voice and advocate for my community. And it was also very helpful to be around like-minded people who were also very interested in that. So that was very much, for me, the best part was really being surrounded by people who understood and were willing to listen, and we were all amplifying each other's voices, and I think that's great.
Excellent.
I would say what's in it for you is the fact that libraries are no longer and have no longer been the singular brick and mortar books buildings that are basically, this is the Cliffside Park Free Public Library. This is the Fairview Public Library. We banded together because resources are best shared. So what's in it for you is just a pool of different people, ideas, events coming together that, when together, helps just strengthen not just your library, but the organization as a whole.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew.
I couldn't have said it better than any of the other people already have.
Thank you, Susan. Cara or Adele, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I think everybody summed it up beautifully.
Okay.
Yes,
Cara?
I agree. I agree. I also think it's just fun. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of room for creativity. So yeah, that's my only addition.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your insights, your perspectives. Greatly appreciated. If anyone else has any other questions, we can take them when we wrap up. I'd like to turn it over to Joseph Palmer now for our preview of Buckles Connect.
Okay, good morning. So I will try not to take up too much more of your time. I just wanted to give you some insight into where on Buckles Connect you can find information for your committees and how you can contribute through your committee to Buckles. So when you go to Buckles Connect, once you're signed in, if you go to your channel, every committee has its own channel. And that's where you can discuss things, you can share information, you have access to your shared drive, and you also have access to all those forms that Dave mentioned before. So one of them being requesting funding. So if you go to the channel tab up in the left-hand corner and you go to your channel, you'll see it listed here because you're part of the committee. I'm going to use the Adult Services Committee as an example. So I'm going to click on that and it'll bring me right to that committee channel. So like I said before, you can have discussion here, and we are encouraging you to start using the channel more as a committee. We are not taking away the Google groups that are dedicated to the committees just yet. So, but definitely get in here, start using this, start creating discussion here, because what it does is it archives everything. So when new committee members join, they'll be able to see past discussions. And when you leave, your discussion isn't lost in the shuffle. So only committee members have access to the committee channel. So it is a private channel in that way. And when you join, you'll have this, or when you go to the channel, you'll have your discussion column here. And over on the right side, there's a few things that are of interest. So the first part is just the upcoming events. This is the Buckles events calendar. So you'll see the meetings. You can see the meeting that we're having right now, the orientation. So you'll see all the things that exist on the Buckles events calendar. Underneath that, there are some quick links that we thought would be helpful for you. So the form that Dave was talking about before, the committee event and funding request form, that is right here. That's that first one. So anytime you want to have an event, the sooner you know, the better. You can go ahead and fill out that form. And your committee contact email and the committee chairs will all get kind of a copy of what you've submitted. And then after you've had your event, you're going to want to be reimbursed for the for whatever you paid for, right? So you're going to submit your reimbursement request, and that is that second form right here. Then every system council, we ask for updates from the committee. So there's a form here, easily fill it out. If you don't have any updates, you just let us know. I have no updates. But if you have some events coming up, or if you had an event that happened in the past and you want to give us an update for that, you're going to fill out this form. And if you're looking to have an event and you want to find out who can host an event that of this magnitude, you know, you're hosting this big thing with, you expect a lot of people and you're going to have a speaker there. We've created this database of library meeting spaces. So you can go to that database and search for whatever it is that you're looking for. Maybe it's a particular type of equipment that you're looking for, or maybe it's the size of the space. Right away, you'll see all the libraries that are open and available to having meetings at their library, and you'll also see the libraries that are not available for that. So you can kind of like cross them off your list. You know, your committee is not made up of somebody from every single library, so you don't really know the options out there. So this has been a really kind of big game changer for the committees. Even if you're just looking to have an in-person meeting, you can check out that list and contact the library and just say, hey, we're looking to have a meeting there, or an event of some kind. Underneath that, you're going to see a whole bunch of important files for you. So the first one is a document that I created to help you add your agendas and minutes to Buckles Connect Share Drive to share with the rest of the consortium. So it is up to the committee chairs to add that, but you can definitely help out your committee chair and let them know, look, there's a document right here that lets you know how to do that. There's also a short video that goes along with it, so you can see how to add your minutes and agendas. These are our sample minutes and agendas underneath. You can see if you're going to take minutes, you can understand kind of what it should look like in the end and what's expected of you. We have the Buckles committees and charges. So this is just the master list. It will show you all the different committees, all of the members in that committee, and then the charges for the committee. So if you're interested in looking at other committees, you can find that here, and I'll show you another place where you're going to find all this information. And what you need to know as a chair, if you are part of a committee that submits a reading list every month or a tip, some of the committees submit tips each month. If you're one of those committees, which is the Adult Services, Youth Services, and DUP, each of those committees submits a new reading list. And there's an instruction here on how to create that reading list through LibGuides. And then as the Adult Services Committee, they have they've added their link here as well for their Ready Reference or the A to Z librarian approved sites. So you can add links to this page as well, and that helps out your committee. So in addition to your links and all the different documents that are available here, one other major kind of asset on your committee channel is the folder tab. So if you go to the folder tab, this gives you access to your committee's shared drive. Every committee has a shared drive. It's only shared by the committee members. When you leave a committee, you no longer have access to it. And this is where you're going to do all of your collaborating. So you're going to add your documents there, you're going to share with each other. So it's just a really nice way of keeping everything organized for your committee, and again, only accessed by the committees. You can easily upload things, you can create new documents and files and slides or whatever it is that you're creating. You can do that all right within this interface. You don't even have to go into your Google Drive. But if you were to go to your Google Drive, you can find it there as well. I'm going to just switch over to my shared drive. You can see if you're in your Google interface, if you're in your workspace, and you go to shared drive, you'll see all the shared drives to which you belong. So you're going to definitely see Buckles Connect, and you'll see your committee shared drive as well. You may see other ones if you belong to other shared drives. I know a lot of libraries are starting to use shared drives more, so you'll see those as well. You can also create shared drives and share them with your colleagues, but that is a topic for another day, or another training video that you can find right on Buckles Connect. So that's your committee channel. It's definitely where you're going to probably do most of your work as a committee member. One other place I mentioned before that you can find that information other places, if you go to pages and committees and task forces, this is kind of like everything about committees, anything you really want to know about committees. So there's that master list that I mentioned before. And this is that has each committee, their charges, the overview of the committee, and then all their members. These are some documents that we saw before. Here's the committee news channel, which I'll get to in a moment. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see all of the different committees and then links to their agendas and minutes pages and their contact form. So every committee can be contacted by anybody. And there's an email account for that. And so anybody can fill out that contact form. So if I just flip over to there, you'll see this contact form. The contact form goes directly to the chairs and that contact email account. So you can share, your committee chairs will probably share that information with you. The other page to kind of take note of is the agendas and minutes page. So if you want to catch up on your agendas and minutes, from past years, or you want to look at other committees and see what they're doing, you can jump into any one of them and read any of these. These are all accessible by everybody in Buckles, and they are also accessible by anybody outside that has the link. Because like Dave said before, all minutes have to be accessible, all meetings need to be accessible by the public. So they are accessible to anybody who has the link. So once you put them in here, just know that everybody will be able to read them. So if you're just working on them, definitely use your shared drive. Use your committee shared drive to start your documents, and then copy and paste that information into these folders here. If you are a committee chair, you will see the ability to add the new documents here. If you're not, you won't have this option because only committee chairs can add those minutes and agendas. So before I mentioned the committee news channel, so there is a committee news channel. This is all the news that's coming out of committees. Right now, for the most part, I update that. So I send out that information. We compile it at our office, and then all the event recaps or the events that are coming up, or if a committee sends out a newsletter. I know the adult services and youth services, tech, they all send out newsletters and DUP. And so what I do when I get that newsletter, I then post it into committee news. But we are opening that up to all the committee members now. So committee chairs can post their news in this channel. All you have to do is go to the channel, and you can start posting your news here. So, so as a committee chair, you can post there, and anybody else can comment on it. So you can definitely engage with other committee members here. Before we were just talking about like what do committees do, how do they contribute to the organization, and I just mentioned a few. One were those reading lists that the libraries do. You can find that on the Reader's Advisory page within Buckles Connect, so you can see all the different reading lists that they create each month. So we update these every month. There's also a current tips page. So if you go to the current tips, you'll see all those tips from the different committees each month, and you'll see the P&P tips here. There's also channels that are designated and moderated by committees. So the P&P committee moderates a channel called P&P Question. So if you have a question for the P&P committee, you can start a conversation there. Buckles Adults and Buckles Youth are going to be moderated by those committees as well. So you can just start conversations with people, even if you don't belong to the committee, but you want to ask questions about that, you know, they'll have the expertise. Go to those channels, check them out, and start a conversation there, and see what people are talking about. The PR committee started a channel called PR and Marketing Chat, and it's been really useful. People have been throwing out some really great ideas, so it's been really helpful. One of the other things that some of our committees started, and it was the Youth Services and Adult Services Committee, they started a database for vendors and performers. So if you're looking for somebody that you want to host at your library, definitely check out this vendor and performer database. You can search the database. You can add a vendor or performer. If you've gone through the database and you don't see somebody you've worked with, you can add somebody to that database. And then you can also rate any of the performers that already exist in the database. So definitely check that out. It's a really useful tool that was started by our committees. You'll also be able to find the P&P manual that was mentioned before. So right on that homepage, you'll see policies and procedures. Go ahead, click on that, and you'll be able to do a little light reading, read that manual. And we also break it down by section. So you can find all those different sections kind of broken down into separate articles. But you can also just click right into the table of contents here. So if I'm looking for something about sound recordings, I can click on that. It'll bring me right to that part of the document. So are there any questions about that very quick overview? I didn't want to take up too much of your time today. Definitely go into your channel and check those out. Any questions about anything?
Thank you, Joseph. That was definitely information packed. Appreciate the great overview. And I know that the committees will also share this information. I was in the Adult Services Committee meeting this week, and Andrew and Cara gave great reminders of what is available in Buckles Connect and how it can support the committee work. So definitely, please, if anybody has any questions, reach out to your committee. Joseph is always great at fielding questions as well. So I think we're coming over. I do apologize that we went that we did go over. We just had so much great information to cover. If anybody else has any questions that you want to ask now, please feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask the questions. If you want to email me any questions, feel free to do that as well. While you're thinking, if there are any other questions, I would just like to thank everyone for attending today's General Committee orientation. And I'd also like to thank our guest speakers for sharing their time, their experience, and their expertise. I hope that gave you an idea of what to expect with the Buckles committee work. As Dave and Adele said, the committees are what drive a lot of the things for Buckles. The committees just do unbelievable work, and we can't do it without the support of our committee chairs and our wonderful committee members. So thank you so much for your enthusiasm, your support, and your commitment. Again, if there's anything that I can do to either help or put you in touch with somebody, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll just pause for a second to see if there are any other questions. I don't see anything. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And thank you again to everyone for taking the time out of your day to attend. We appreciate it. And I hope you have a good afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Stay safe,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.